we can't.
It's 4:15. I'll call a public court to order.
I'll call the Parks and Recreation Committee to order. Okay.
Is there any guests online and Zoom? Anybody there?
It's Clayton.
Megan, it's Clayton.
Just staff.
Okay. I'd like to welcome you to the meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Husheng,
Here.
Ms. Barb,
Here.
Mr. Tom,
Here.
Mr. Lewis,
Here.
Mr. Roy.
Here.
And I'll do the parks right away. Ms. Barb,
Here.
Mr. Feeney,
Nate indicated you'd be a little late.
Katrina, clerk,
She was gonna join online.
okay, Dino Carino, and Mr. Roger.
Here.
Not yet.
You're good?
No, I'm good.
All right. Public comment? No public comment. Item 5, the approval of 5/9/22 Public Work Utility Committee minutes.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it.
Approval of 6/1/22 Joint Board of Trustees Park and Recreation Committee minutes.
Probably
We don't have quorum.
table that until. you
Oh,
get
yeah,
home.
that's right. Is Clark online yet or no?
No.
Okay, because otherwise we'd be okay, but
All right. Acknowledge work product transmittal. Item 7, 2021 Annual Drinking Water Quality Report.
Yeah, so every year we put together our annual drinking water report, also called our Consumer Confidence Report, that we get certified and submit to the DNR. So I don't know if you have any questions or if you need a rundown. I've included in our packet our certification page that goes back to the DNR, as well as our postcard that we send to our customers that include different ways to make payments, as well as different ways to track, how to track the water usage through Aquahawk. And then on the flip side of the postcard is actually where they can get a digital copy of the report or a call and stop in to get a report, which is on the next page where we have our full annual report that has some more specifics to Weston's water quality, with some of the data that we have from last year and some previous sampling that's been done within the last 5 years. A possibly obvious omission is discussions of PFAS within it. Keith and I were just kind of talking about, I don't know if that's something we want to have a little bit of dialogue in there, kind of say where we are, where we were, or just to simply find some information. We do have information on our website for PFAS. But unlike some other communities, we didn't have the PFAS issue, or didn't deal with the PFAS issue until start of 2022. So next year's report will have probably lots of PFAS stuff in our report, but I guess I'm wondering if we want to include at least some guidance on where to find information if people are looking for it.
Or whatever you have on the website, you can just put them in there.
Yeah.
That shouldn't take you really much
Yeah.
time.
So, and I talked with Teresa too. I think we may just add something on, just a little link to our website that, I mean, they have links on here to grab the annual report itself. So maybe we could put a little something for PFAS information, visit our website, and we can put it on there.
Yep. You already spent time, you already run the testing on it,
Yes.
you have your test results, you have a public announcement and so forth, so we should make some comment there.
Sure.
At least that's my opinion. If you gentlemen have something else.
The ever-changing PFAS understanding.
I've been told and still don't understand it, so
Join the club.
Is there any
guess.
questions?
Yeah, well, yeah, so we've been reporting on a contaminant for which there still is no drinking water standard per se.
Still, you're at the 70 and 20 and all that, right?
Well, right now, but I was told last week that this recommendation from DNR might be a lot lower than 20 now.
Really?
That goes through the legislature. So we just gotta keep track of what's going on through here, June and July. We think, I guess now they may make a recommendation in July, but
What's a lot lower?
they were saying it may possibly in the single digits.
Single digit, so it'd be less than 10.
Correct.
So how many of our wells would be? 1, 2, is it still 2 or is there a third?
I don't know what the results were in
And
the,
I do have actually in our PFAS discussion coming up, I guess Michael threw it up there for you guys to see. I guess discounting the samples from
It would still just,
411.
it'd be 2 and then Bladel is potentially, so we might have a third
Yeah, that's not there.
well then.
And I guess it depends on what single digit number they're discussing, so.
Is it a combined single digit or is it individual?
Is it 1? Is it 9? I
right?
don't know. So I guess in regards to the annual report, I'll put something in there, just, in the annual report, there's a blurb about unregulated contaminants. And within our sample list, I don't know if we had any unregulated contaminants that were still reported on. Yeah, so those are dating back to our UCMR 4, which was in 2019. There was some, but that didn't have anything to do with PFAS. But I can put a little something in the unregulated contaminants section just to, because they are unregulated, I guess at this point.
Sure.
Okay.
Any questions? Josh? Is there anything else you want to highlight it for us in that report?
No, I think 2021 was pretty calm.
So is there a deadline for this report? I got someplace March was supposed to be submitted,
No, June 30th.
June 30.
Yeah.
Just the postcards have to be out by that June 30th and then.
Well, we have, yes, it has to be just submitted to the DNR.
So what's that March in there then?
That-
That's the other report.
That, yeah, the MS4 is a March.
That's the other report, yeah.
You mean the march on, oh, that's May.
The next item on the agenda.
Oh, the other one.
Yeah. Mhm.
Got me confused.
Okay. Do we have to acknowledge this?
Yeah,
Yeah, you can.
yes.
All right. We have to acknowledge this.
I'll move to acknowledge the Weston Utilities 2021 Annual Drinking Water Quality Report.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved, I have it, thank you. 2021 Municipal Separate Stormwater, Storm Sewer System, MS4 Annual Report.
Yeah, so this is one that is due at the end of March, which we had submitted to the DNR.
Oh, you did submit it?
We submitted this one already, so this has been submitted and turned in.
Okay.
Meant to have it at the, held off at the April meeting, not knowing what the committee structure was gonna look like. And then, in May, made a full agenda, so we put it in this one, just to try to at least make sure we bring it to the committee for acknowledgement and understanding of what was submitted. Now that we kind of know what our structure is here, for the committee. I guess Dan put most of it together, but it is kind of a summary of our stormwater utility and the activities we do, the features of our drainage systems, and I don't know if there's other. Our inspections when it comes to new construction sites, how often we're inspecting those, if we have any issues, if we issue citations, warnings. A lot of that stuff is handled through our planning and zoning department, through Roman and Scott as they're doing their other inspections on a project. We have outreach activities, but I can let Dan talk. You'll hear from me later.
Yeah, if you go through it, it requires us to document like our annual spring and fall leaf pickup, how many yards of material were picked up, how much sweepings we pick up in a year. All that goes into the report. When it comes to the public side of it, public interaction is a part of it. We had a couple guys out at the Saturday farmers market with some stormwater, stuff to trying to outreach to the public. Part of this, presenting this to you and to the board, is also another requirement or something that we do when we try to reach out to the public as far as with the MS4 report. It gets quite lengthy, but it's required every year to do. So I don't know if you had a chance to look through it, if you have any other questions on it. I'm not going to go into real deep detail on it.
So you sweep the streets 2 times a year? In
We're
spring and fall?
And then in between too, we're sweeping again now. We'll do an initial sweeping after the spring pickup.
Right.
Covered all the roads once, but we're back at it again because as you get rain, it'll even wash some more of the sand out to the gutters. The leaves drop, the spring stuff. We do blow the islands off right away in the spring, first thing out on the 4-lane areas and that. And then you still go back after heavy rains. It starts to wash it out, then we'll sweep again. So.
And then do you flash out the line too at all? Do you jet them at all?
If we have issues or known issues, or if there was a construction project and we know the materials ended up in it, we'll do it. We monitor the outfalls. That's a part of the MS4 report. Inspections on all the major outfalls within the village, and then the minor ones I did 2 years ago. I did an inspection on all of them. So if we notice anything or run into anything, we'll take and do either a cleaning, or some of them, there's pipes that need to be relayed. We don't have all of it done yet. There's a few outfalls that need some work yet, but they're on the list. But like always, we have more work than we'll ever get done.
And as far as like the catch basins go, the sumps, last year we did get 322 of those cleaned out. And if we notice that there seems to be extra sediment, we will jet that line between the inlets.
Because that sump area you put in there in those catch basins, they get filled up with no time really. I mean.
Yeah.
And especially if you have, as you said, if you have a construction in the area, that construction released a lot of sediment through the storm system.
The goal is to try and catch it in the curb before it hits the storm sewer. That's why the sweeping, is important. So we've got a guy who was working last week, pretty much sweeping, and he should hopefully be making the second round of the spring done right now. That'll catch the bulk of it. And then we monitor from there what's going on. If there's construction activities in the subdivision or something, we'll take and try and sweep it too, catch things as we go.
Or wherever you got your catch basin under the pine tree, I can guarantee you that's become, I know that for facts, because it's my way driving all the time.
Yeah.
And I can see that catch basin always full with that pine needle.
Then the MS4 too, we have to document how much salt we go through in a year. That all goes into it too. If there's any illegal spills or, which we had one this year where there was some, over by advanced disposal, there was something breached their catch basin they had in the yard, but they took care of it right away with REI, and then they ended up cleaning out they've got a catch basin in their yard that they had worked back, I think in 2016, that's got a sump in it, and it hadn't been cleaned, so they had like oil of some sort came out. They went and they cleaned it right away. They were really good about it, so we monitor that too if there's any spills. Or when you do the major outfalls too, when you're testing the water coming out of those, as far as I've got a whole chemical kit where you check for basically like gasoline and different types of chemicals that are in it. So when you go take your samples, typically in the fall, around August, to go and take the water samples, and they've got a kit which Mr. Mark Thompson was very nice to donate to the village of Weston. We always used to rent it from him, and he actually gave it to us, so. So it gets quite in-depth with the MS4 every year. It seems like they're adding a few more things to it.
Is there any question? Is there anything else you'd like to highlight?
On this,
No, yes.
no, I'm sorry, it's.
I guess the only item I'd like to add in is, we're also working with, getting our TMDL, our total maximum daily load for phosphorus study done. The initial finding of that is, we currently have about, a 60% suspended solids removal, which puts, we're in compliance with DNR, but with the TMDL, we're supposed to be, I believe it's at 68%, and our initial modeling has us at 58% removal. So we'll have additional stormwater requirements likely in the near future for more phosphorus removal on our sites. So we'll be looking at that. So, again, as we talk about DNR regulations, right now we're, exceeding expectations by about 3 times the limit. And then, we'll have a new regulation here on us pretty shortly that now says, okay, now you're under by, you're no longer meeting expectations, you're under. So it's just one of those struggles where, when that goalpost or finish line moves on us, we do our best to try to keep up with it, but it's hard to always anticipate where that's gonna be.
Any significant expense for the additional removal?
I think you get 3 years to create then your plan of how you're going to meet it, and then every 3 years after that, you need to show how you're getting about 10% of that gap. So if we're, say, 10% short, we need to make sure we're making a 1% improvement every subsequent year. So the permit is, your stormwater permit is good for 3 years. So you need to show that every permit cycle you're making progress towards it. So realistically, in 30 years, we'd be in full compliance then. The biggest project on the list right now looks like potentially making a storm pond right by the former Shopko building on Business 51 and the 29 on-ramps. We have a significant area of the village that drains through that area then to the Wisconsin River. So we are in preliminary talks with the DOT when they reconstruct Business 51 to see if we can get a storm pond incorporated in with that project, and it'd be a shared thing too with the village of Rothschild, because they also have stormwater that drains through there. So that one project would probably give us, a 10-year gap in when we need to do the next project.
Is there enough land in there for 2 community to size that pond?
Well, it'd be one pond, and
That's a lot of water from two area going in there.
so then, you run the model, you get so much extra removal from it. But I don't have the number off the top of my head, but it was a significant removal for us since it is at the far end of our system. So it's treating the junior high, senior high area of the village.
That would be in Rothschild then?
The pond would be in Rothschild, yeah. Correct.
Okay.
And then we did have another person call in, 715-218-3744. Is that Katrina?
Yep, it's Katrina.
Okay.
She's with MSA.
No, she's park committee.
Oh,
Yeah, so now we got a quorum.
So now you have quorum, correct?
would you like to call the meeting to order?
Yeah, now we can actually call the meeting. We tried to last time, but that's, okay, we'll call the Park Committee and Recreation Committee to order. Roll call. I know you did it once, but.
Yep. Yeah. Barb Ermeling,
Here.
Nate Feeney, is he on the line yet?
Not yet, no.
Okay. Katrina Clark,
Here.
Ina Carino, and Roger Easter here.
Okay, thank you. And now we can do approve the minutes of the joint board of trustees and park and recreation committee minutes.
I so move.
Roger? Have a second? I'll second it. Get going here. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Trina, are you there?
Yes,
Okay, we just made a motion to approve the minutes. What is your pleasure?
I,
Thank you. Okay. Now we can go back to.
All right,
the
we're on
agenda.
item 8. I'll accept the motion to acknowledge 2021 municipal separate stormwater system, MS4 annual report.
I'll make a motion of acknowledgement of the 2021 Village of Weston Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System MS4 report.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. Okay, item referred to the committee by village board, none. Education, presentation and report, none. Resolution and ordinance. Resolution 2022-00011, a resolution to approve the compliance maintenance annual report, CMAR, for Weston Sewer Utility and submit to the Wisconsin Department Natural Resources. What's your wishes?
Motion to approve resolution 2022-011.
Is there a second?
Second.
Question? All in favor, signify. Yeah,
I think Public Works needs to approve that.
correct. Not the part to.
Then I'll undo my second.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Read it first.
Put in your minutes.
Yeah, correct.
I'm on both.
You're both.
I'm,
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Item 10, resolution 2022-012, authorizing resolution for special assessment for driveway, water main and lateral and sanitary sewer main and lateral for Birch Street reconstruction project. We hold a public hearing on this, went pretty good. I'll accept the motion for this resolution.
I'll move to recommend the village board approve resolution 2022-012, authorizing resolution for special assessments for drive approach, sanitary sewer main and laterals, and water main and laterals construction for the Birch Street reconstruction project.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. The staff report, item 11, CIP update. Michael?
I guess at the end of, or beginning of June here, on June 3rd, I submitted 3 street projects for the SDP Urban grant funding, which were the Ross Avenue joint project with Schofield from Metro Drive to Alderson. Also, another Ross Avenue project, this one with the town from Riverbend out to Paul's Avenue. And then the reconstruction of Schofield Ave here from Normandy Street to Birch. And then additionally, we also submitted a grant to the Transportation Alternatives Program for a bicycle and pedestrian master plan. It's an element of our strategic plan would also be incorporated into the comprehensive outdoor rec plan. So that was something Sean and I had talked about getting submitted, so if we were looking to do the study anyways, perhaps there's a way we can get 80% of it funded by the state. So we should be finding out about those probably in mid-July, early August. And then we did officially receive word on our funding for Northwestern Avenue. where we're getting up to 555,695. For that repaving, it's funded at a 70% federal, 30% local ratio. So we got some money coming in for next year. Then as far as our other projects go, Crestwood Acres is mostly complete. There was mainly restoration of ditches and concrete work completed in the end of May, beginning of June. So hopefully we got tree planting left to do. And then we should be out of the neighborhood hopefully for the foreseeable future.
Which I have the trees, this week is my goal, because I gave the residents their stakes last week. 3 residents decided they wanted to plant their own trees. The other ones I went through the neighborhood, they're starting to put their stakes out, so my goal is to call in locates this week and have the trees planted by the end of next week.
Quick question, Director Wodolski. So, all of the rework for the concrete, aprons that have been requested by residents are completely finished?
I believe so, yeah. Everybody that's had cracks in the new concrete, should have. Yeah, my understanding, we got all of them.
Got it. Thank you.
If you know of any that are still outstanding, please let me know.
Okay.
Then, yeah, I think there's still a couple curb cracks that concrete contractor is still coming back to do. But the main work, it should be all completed. Birch Street project, just had the authorizing resolution there. And then they did get the large culverts under Cedar Creek completed last week. And they're working on a couple other items that are non-accessible. So a lot of the phase 1 work, which is on the south end from the contractor split the project up into a south phase that they'll do first, which is basically where the A&R gas line crosses in between Leyburn and Windsor. So they're doing that south portion first. And once they finish that, they'll do the north portion from Leyburn up to Cross Point Boulevard. So that way the Windermere Oak subdivision always has one way in and one way out too. That's reliable instead of guessing which way the road's open. And I guess Weston Avenue X to J, met with AECom, I think that was last week, on some of the 60% design drawings. They're waiting on just a few more soil borings or infiltration tests so that they can finish the stormwater calculations. We've got an intergovernmental agreement with Rothschild for the Weston Ave, Alderson to Birch. And kind of touched on this. Bryan Street Apache, the concrete curb was put in last week. They're working on restoring ditches this week and have the street scheduled to be paved the week of the 27th, which has everything paved and done by the end of June, which is their substantial completion date. And then lift station work, Tanya Tricia should be near completion here. Still waiting on generator. And then well 7 and 8, looks like they'll start drilling the wells right after the 4th of July.
You didn't talk about the roundabout at Ross Avenue and Camp Phillips. What's the status of that project?
That was the county should be submitting on that. I guess that wasn't something we did, but that's being led by Marathon County Highway Department.
Right, okay. You don't know the status of it?
Not off the top of my head right now, no.
Okay.
I can follow up on that for you.
Are they asking for a grant also for that project?
Yeah, I know they were submitting a bunch of grants for that too. And that was kind of the.
Can we get out the next meeting?
Yep, I can do that.
Is there anything else?
Not right now, no.
Any question for Michael? All right. Item 12, a street operation.
I'll wait for him to roll it up there, I'm sorry. It's been a busy day, there's a lot on the brain. Basically where we're at now, we've got most of our initial spring, the cleanup's kind of done, sweeping. We've been mowing some on the urban areas. We're gonna probably start mowing the, out in the country with the boom mower coming up now. We talked about it today. Gravel roads we've been keeping up with. Ryan Street's been very busy, our recycling center, between the brush and the leaves and the grass. The pit side of it's been busy too. North Apache, they brought in a lot of sand. Randy Warden just finished screening 4,000 yards of topsoil for us. Did a really nice job. Came out good organics. I don't know if I told you last month, we sold a little over $4,000 worth of compost between Olson Paving and Warden. And we've got that much again sitting there just from this spring in leaves. We put them in rows, compost them, take the temperature every month, roll them. We're rolling them now once a month, so it helps break them down. So we'll probably be selling some more there. The storm sewer inlets and the curb lines, those pop up this time of year when we start sweeping. We're doing some of that. Some manhole work, sanitary and storm sewer where Rothschild is paving Olson Street. We have to take care of our needs, utility needs there. So if there's manholes and water valves, we're working on that. And then part of the crew started today. We're putting a storm sewer in on Normandy Street from Hughes going south up to Island. I'm sorry, I can't keep the name straight up there. So we're gonna be working on putting a storm sewer. On the contract side of things, our GSB 88 ceiling's done for the year. He took care of that contract. That was Farner. And Scott Construction's talking about coming in for chip sealing, hopefully the end of June. Precision is there right now, Precision Seal Coating. They took care of Sandy Metals as far as crack sealing. So everything that's on their list, it's around 56,000. They're working on that now. They probably got another week and a half to go. The big deal is gonna be on the 21st, around then, American Asphalt's looking at milling and paving Ross Avenue from Mesker to the bridge. So we're gonna go pick up a message board, set that out there so we can warn the public a little bit, but they're gonna do it on the traffic. I think I talked about that before. Norcon finished, in fact, I was just authorizing the bills. They finished up with Schofield Avenue. It came to about $110,000 worth of concrete repair, and that was just from Mesker out to west of Ryan. So, and some of it was manholes too for sanitary and storm. So really the big deals that's coming up right now is it's gonna be the paving on Ross Avenue. And then RC Pavers has our asphalt overlays, but they were talking July before they do that. And that's gonna include paving Kramer Lane from Guzman down to Trotzer. But Advanced Construction should get all of their work done with the sanitary sewer in that area before they go and pulverize Kramer. So that road, we've been keeping up patching with it. It's kind of trashed, but we just keep patching it. And then once they're done with that, hopefully RC will come in before it gets too late in July and mill that up or pulverize it and then pave the whole thing. So, and upcoming street contracts, we'll touch on that later. Stonebridge Drive and Community Center Drive, there were bid openings last week, Thursday, for those two projects. It's, I put them in 2 phases, and we can talk about that later. So there's some numbers I threw in there on how much this vacuumed up this spring. About 158 yards of material were swept, and costs I put together with everything. What we do is take loaders, a broom on a loader and sweep the main part of the street first to get it out to the curb. And then we can sweep with our air back to sweep it up on the curb. It's a lot more efficient. And then it kind of shows you, in the spring pickup, we had 1,900 cubic yards of leaves and grass that were vacuumed up from the spring yard waste pickup. So, cost a little over 12,000 for that. And then I put on the bottom what it takes us to mow 1 round in the urban area, which would be like Schofield Avenue, all this stuff with our small trackless mower. And that's about what it costs a round, is a little over $2,000 to go out and mow that. So we did 1 full round so far, and you kind of started on the second round. So it just gives you some ideas. There's the farmer's market. That's where we had 2 trucks there, and a couple of guys were there welcoming the public, kind of going through trucks with them, talking about different things, salt usage and storm sewer and that. And then they did some work on Park Ridge Drive. The people were gonna replace their driveway and the culvert was junk underneath it, so we got the ditch line cleaned out and reshaped too, so the water will hit the ditch instead of running down the road and taking the shoulder out. And this is a picture of what we deal with at Ryan Street. We did put up, I shouldn't say this if we're on Zoom, but we put up a trail cam out there because we're having all kinds of trouble with people dumping stumps and dirt. And some of them are contractors, our guys catch them, I catch them, we tell them they can't do that. We don't take stuff from contractors, village residents, yes, but if they're a contractor doing it for money, they're supposed to take it to Tito. So we put up a trail cam out there and just started with it last week. So we know we have some frequent flyers that are coming in and out of there, and I'm gonna be in touch with Everest Metro because they passed an ordinance, the village did last year, where they can be fined. And if we have to, we're gonna get a glass case and put their pictures up out there with a phone number underneath it where people can call, because even the residents that dump out there know that it's illegal and it's costing the residents money. One of the things that happens, we got a mountain of brush sitting there right now. Kafka would grind the brush every year for the village. They still grind for Wassa too. They never charged nothing because they would take the material all to the biomass plant. But with the fuel prices going up so high, they're charging us $1,500 to come out and grind all of our brush. So the goal is, the other problem we have out there, and I've talked about this in the past, people dump stumps, and when they grind stumps, they throw it. Any of that brush that Kafka grinds and takes to the biomass plant can't have dirt in it. So we end up trucking that stuff out to another place, and we're eating the cost of that. So that's the goal, to try and start policing this place, that dump site, and hopefully get the residents involved so that we can stop some of these fly-by-night contractors that are abusing it. So we're doing everything in our power.
In the springtime, you pick up a lot of the sand from the street sweeping.
Yep.
What do you do with them?
Good question. We just had them tested. This is through Melissa Johnson. She runs solid waste for Marathon County.
Right.
She started a program back in 2007 where we get the sweepings get tested. It's her program through the county. And ours, we just got the results back. It meets all the DNR requirements. We will mix it in with our recycled asphalt and concrete, and it gets ground up and turned into gravel. And as long as we're putting the gravel down underneath the pavement, we can use it for that.
Doesn't have a lot of fine in it besides just the sand?
Yeah, there's some, but when you're crushing 13,000 tons of material, you can spread it pretty thin, you know what I mean, and mix it in decent. So we had our gravel tested last fall. Mitch King and Sons crushed for us, and everything got spec for a 3/4 minus gravel for recycle. So
what's the percent fine? 8%, 10%?
I'd have to find a report machine. I'm sorry, I can get it for you, but
Okay.
yeah, it's not in the brain today.
I think it's just less than 10% for your,
P200.
yeah, so,
That's what they call for it.
yeah, so everything's met that.
So it's not dumping at the landfill?
Correct. Yeah, we're keeping it out of the landfill.
Okay.
And that was the purpose of her program when she created that, was to try and, they can't use it for cover out there at the landfill. So she created this program with the DNR to try and let the municipalities have another use for it, as long as it's tested, to make sure there's no ethanol or gasoline products. They test for like 10 different compounds.
Question.
What are the proposed fines?
I'd have to dig the ordinance out. I don't think it's astronomical, but I'd have to look it up. I can get it for you and email it to you,
I
right?
just was curious how much, if it was enough to be effective or if it's.
Well, if we can start catching some of these people and it isn't, then we're gonna come back and ask if you can increase it. It's just a pain when they dump something in the middle of all that brush and you have to go and dig it out. You can't just push it up on a pile. When the stumps are in the middle of it, you've got to sort through everything. And that's the problem. You can't have the dirt. And they left us, like I said, last year.
I was just curious if the fines were more than what it costs them to go to the Ringo landfill.
Well, what's sad is Tito is right next door to us. Tito Bottle, their pit is right there. Contractors are supposed to be taking their stuff there. And I talked to Jeff Bobble last week about it. And he says, we don't tell them to go to your site. I said, I know that. They can dump right over there. Tito, they've got a grinder where they grind their own brush there. And the stumps, he ends up basically hauling them out too. He says, I don't really care to take them, but we take this stuff hoping that these landscaping contractors will use, buy material from us. He said that's the whole purpose. So if it keeps up, we're gonna sit down with them and talk again a little bit more and see if we can't come up with another solution, because it's just degrading. It's been a battle for years, so we're gonna try and weed some of it out.
All right. Okay, thank you. Utility operation update?
Yeah, so lots of diggers tickets have our operators busy over the last month plus here. Work orders as well. Not so many meter changeouts anymore, but some various water issues, meter hookups, lateral inspections. SCADA, we should be hopefully hearing something about our RFP. We have AECom doing a design for our overall SCADA system upgrade. Hopefully get something back here soon. Our water side, we had quite a few general well maintenance items, repairing pumps. PFAS samples were collected beginning of last month, May 5th. I'll kind of touch on that after the utility report where we're at. We completed our annual valve exercising. We have a handful of valves we need to get back to clean out to see if we can exercise them. We had to adjust some of our overhead fill. We had an issue with the valve over at the overhead fill. And repaired some pumps at the aquatic center. On our sewer side, just a lot of general lift station maintenance, pulling pumps, cleaning them, cleaning the floats. We cleaned some bad spots. We were able to wrap up the televising that we needed for our sewer lining project. So MyTech has all of our televising, and they should be getting us a design. We should have something in hand to review for a design for our upcoming sewer lining project. Some miscellaneous activities, PFAS again, I'll touch on. Entered our annual or our monthly well data to the DNR system. Our guys started our flushing operations. Once we heard our PFAS results, we figured we had a little window, so our guys did start our flushing operations a week ago. So we have fielded a few additional discolored water complaints as they're moving through the system here. Michael touched on most of the contract work. One other one, we do have a mobile home park meter pits. We're gonna be moving those meters up to the surface that we can access a little more easily when we need to change. So we had the 50% plans reviewed, getting that back to Clark Dietz. I reached out to a few contractors waiting quotes for our hydrant painting, our manhole rehab project that was awarded last year. They have hit yet another delay, so it was supposed to be May, June work, but it looks like it's more likely July, August work. From what I heard last, mentioned the sewer lining project. And then I just have our numbers for the last month plus with our customers added and water pumped, and our lift station hours and wastewater flows, and our AquaHawk usage. So,
Go ahead.
I guess we can jump to, if there's no comments on that, we can kind of talk PFAS again. I think as of meeting last month, we had sampled on May 5th and we are awaiting the results. So those results came back somewhere. We get those results? Yeah. Are they not on that table? Oh yeah, they're right there. It's not printed that one. So we sampled May 5th. No, when did you sample?
You had April 11th.
Pages out of order. April 11th.
And then you also have the May 5th ones on here too.
So our May 5th results came back. We had to then sample again, but that time we had just sampled 3 and 4. And our results we got back indicated 3 being significantly high on the combined, the 20 parts per trillion threshold, as well as the hazard index of 1. But those results showed our well 4 was under the combined 20 parts per trillion, as well as underneath the 1 hazard index, which Michael's highlighting there. So after getting these results, the DNR had us shut down well 3 and continue to run well 4. And we resampled well 4 again on June 2nd, just over a week ago. It was Friday, June 2nd. So the DNR's thoughts behind keeping well 4 running was they feel well 3 is kind of taking all the action and sucking all the PFAS up well 3. So well 3 is shut down. And well 4, I guess we'll see once we get the results back, if it maintains under the 20 or under the 1 hazard index. And I guess if it goes over, I guess we'll have to make a decision on which way we go with the well to, I guess, DNR will probably tell us to shut it down if it's over. We do have on the next slide kind of our blending proposal that we had that AECom is currently working on that shows that we should be able to, what's shown there is basically Fuller Street is off the green line you see there is basically Fuller Street. And we have a main coming through the easement that feeds into our, well, it kind of comes out of well 4 is the small building there. So what we're looking to do is connect a pipe basically between where that dark blue line is, where that will kind of bypass well 4 and go into our treatment plant, which is the larger building there. So well 4 will pump into the treatment plant along with our distribution water, where AECom has run modeling where we can close some of the valves that will allow for more of wells 1, 5, and 6 water to make its way into the distribution system to get us under the numbers.
So how long is gonna take him to figure out how much and how we have to do the blending? Because the last 2 meetings we talked about it, I haven't heard the final result.
So the results of the blending are positive, that it would work. So it's been submitted to DNR for their approval to let us do it. So right now, we're just working back and forth with the DNR and their comments of how, I guess their concerns on it. You know, how are you gonna regulate it? How are you gonna ensure, you know, what's your testing frequency going to be to ensure that the numbers you use for well 4 are consistent, or are you gonna need to modify this up or down?
So what are we looking for? Less than 20 or less than 70 or what?
So the goal would be
What we're looking for.
yeah, so right now it'd be the 20. Right now it's 20 for the Department of Health Services recommendation, so.
Landing should be 20 then?
So getting the water coming out of the treatment plant should be under 20, or the hazard index of 1.
Yes.
So
So
part per billion,
trillion,
trillion.
yep. So that's the other part is,
So here's the question though, I guess. Do we chase something we don't know, or should we just simply issue a health advisory to keep well 3 or well 4 online?
Can you
Issue a
keep
health
it
advisory
online?
to our entire community, I guess.
Can you keep it online?
But we can keep them all online if we wanted to. We would just have to issue a health advisory to all our residents.
Well, we're charging these people, we can't sell the contaminated water to them and say we issue health advisory, therefore you're on your own make decision, you want to drink it or not, but you have to pay for it.
So
That's,
you blend the water, you get it to 20, they change it to 10, that money there is wasted basically, that you do that
I
work.
mean, there is secondary benefits to this for us where current alignment and configuration, we're not really able to flush those lines that, the line that kind of goes off to the west there actually leads to our Mesker well, so we like to have this in there to actually flush to get some distribution system pressure in there, but to your point, yes, it's what are we getting down to? And AECom, you know, they have models where we can set it at different pumping rates and pumping frequencies to maybe have more distribution system water. Now, that's probably dependent on what 1, 5, and 6 have for any future PFAS results, but those are all fairly low that, you know, depending on what the blending is, we should be able to hit certainly under the 20 and the 1. But I mean, if they're looking for 5 and 0.5, who knows?
We know when the new wells are gonna come online, roughly.
Hopefully a year from now, we're.
Yeah, probably, sometime in May of
May,
2023 is kind of what they indicated.
And does that provide adequate water to replace number 4?
It would, but the purpose of building 7 and 8 was so we could take on other, well-related projects too, like shutting down wells 1 and 5 to get it iron and manganese removal for those. So, the sequencing of some of this stuff, does impact other well projects, moving forward too, so.
My other follow-up question is, do we know that the 2 new wells from sampling won't have people levels?
Thank you, that's what's gonna be my question.
No, that's the first requirement though, is as soon as the wells are drilled, we'll have those tested, so if we do need to add treatment, we can do that right away before anything gets built. Based on where they are and, they shouldn't, but, I guess we'll have to find out, unfortunately.
My last question is, and you probably don't know the answer to this one, but is it cheaper to construct another well or treat well 4 for infinity and beyond?
It's probably cheaper, but finding well sites is difficult. Keith could probably speak to that more as far as searching the village for well sites, but I don't think there's a whole lot of areas for high capacity wells here.
They have a shallow aquifer, especially this side of 29 is all sandy soil. They get contaminated pretty easy. So,
Well, and you have land uses that are already established that pretty much rule out a lot of area. So finding those 2 sites, that was 10 years ago that we found that site and hadn't developed them until, you know, got all the plans in place to do it just recently. So it coincidentally happens at the time we find PFAS. So it isn't, this project isn't being done overnight. There had to be, you know, a lot of, there was first test pumping on the site. There was, wellhead, you know, protection plan that was reviewed. DNR had to review the well site investigation report, you know, so it's a multi-year process before we can even get to this point of starting construction. So I think ultimately we need that capacity in the system to serve the growth of the village over time. So we're gonna need those 2 wells and we also need these 2 back here. So I think we add the thing is we need to add treatment there then. And although iron and manganese removal was gonna be something needed back here, but now it becomes PFAS as we find out what the regulation ultimately is gonna be. And we have the same, you know, the same thing to be mindful of over at well 1 and 5.
I
So
thought this well was supposed to go to Boy Scouts.
there wasn't sufficient capacity on
At the Boy Scouts.
any well sites that were looked at on the Boy Scout property.
See, I was hoping to say, yeah, we can go back to that and still use it if we could.
No, that was the hope was that we would find a well with sufficient supply there, but it didn't pan out.
Do we have the ability to increase any of the other existing wells?
I think once test pumping is done, I think as those wells were sited, that was, they were sized and pumped at rates that were matching what the aquifer could provide long-term, so, aside from routine rehabilitation, to restore the pumping levels or to withdrawal levels that were kind of at the maximum. Unless you're gonna install what they call a collector well and run out, kind of like a wheel and spoke arrangement is what a collector well would be. You drill a big case on it and you have these fingers that go out horizontally and collect a wider part of the aquifer, but then I don't know that we really have that capacity in our aquifer here. I know that Stevens Point had done that on the east side of their city, I think outside the city into one of the neighboring townships, and then they ran into some issues with people claiming they had, that their private wells were being made incapable of producing water anymore, so.
They would draw down.
Yeah.
It,
The problem up on the north end of Weston.
yeah, it increased the radius of influence of the well, so it draw down as much, as far as you can go with it. So. Anything else? Any question? All right.
I just have one
Go
other,
ahead.
given the comments and the feedback that we get, are we starting a search for other well sites?
We haven't yet, I mean, we can.
Or should we be?
I think as we can revisit that, I guess adding wells 7 and 8 to the mix, and assuming we have wells 1, 5, 6, 7, and 8 supplying the main system, we didn't see that there was a need for additional water.
Yeah.
And again, we're looking at quantity. Now, as far as finding another source, that to be done, but it's gonna be somewhere probably far outside our corporate boundaries.
I think they should
If we're
finish
gonna
the
find it.
project they have now in hand. Then they can approach it. Possibly.
I guess part of this is too, we also did submit, what do we call it? Is that a grant or?
Submitted a grant application through Senator Baldwin's office for some discretionary money apparently that is potentially out there for infrastructure projects. City of Wausau did the same.
Specifically related to PFAS treatment.
Well, I think governor assigned some money in there, yeah, there's money in there.
Yeah, so this was through the, our US senator, so federal funding. And then the state funding is more safe drinking water loan applications with principal forgiveness.
No,
All
go
right.
ahead and ask the question that I had.
Anybody else have a question? Go ahead. I think next item is park update.
Yes, okay, we got park update, aquatic center update.
Well, as you see in the packet, we put together a little more detailed, estimate regarding, the water usage, natural gas and chemical loss due to the leak that we discussed at our last meeting. But we actually, without going too in depth in discussing that leak, I really need to report on the steps that we've been taking and constantly trying to figure out what's going on at the aquatic center as far as the leak. So a week ago Friday, we came up with an idea to actually cover our main drain covers with some rubber mats to reduce the amount of head pressure on the circulation system. So we placed those And then, monitored the draw through this recirculation system. We actually reduced the amount of water we were losing, and we were running more water through the gutters due to us reducing the flow through the main drain. So by doing that, we reduced the flow a little bit. But then, right away, that was last Friday or the Friday before. And then Monday, Tuesday, and over the weekend, we kind of monitored what was going on with the water. Of course, we had various conditions, like opening day was cold and then Sunday it rained. And so all these varying conditions does give you a really good sample of what's going on with the pool. But we did notice that on the days that we were running the slides, play structure, et cetera, just doing some rough math, we were losing an average of 40 gallons a minute more when we were running the play structure and the slides. So, of course, you're making more water evaporate because you're throwing it up in the air, et cetera. But that was quite the quantity of water we were losing. So, so between Jess and I just discussing what was going on, we had previously shut off a valve that supplies the roof structure on the play structure because we knew that we had a leak in that line. That was something that we knew from the day before we opened when the company was here working on the play structure because we had water on the roof, then we didn't have water on the roof. So we had shut that line off. So there's two other supply lines that feed under the pool and go to the most of the play structure to the south. So last Wednesday, we turned them off, or last Thursday, I should say. So on Thursday, we turned them off. Of course, we've been doing meter readings every 24 hours. So on Wednesday, prior to shutting them down, the pool was open for 2.5 hours. So literally we opened the pool, nobody showed up, we closed the pool, play structure ran for 2.5 hours. We used 24,000 gallons of water on Wednesday. Thursday, we closed those 2 additional valves. We were open the entire day, 8.5 hours, and we only used 16,000 gallons, which is 8,000 gallons less. And we ran the play structure for 6 hours longer than we did the day prior. So we believe that we've pretty much isolated where the leaks are at this point. We know it's within the feed to the play structure and the feed to the floor geysers where the 4 floor geysers come out of this. One of those actually was shooting sand and rocks out of it. So we know that there was a break underground there. And unfortunately, we can't seal them real solid. They're underwater. We do have rubber plugs in them. But when you went to put the rubber plug in, it just sucked the plug right into the hole. So we're sure we're still leaking some there, but it's not a very significant amount because it's only has a 7/8 opening, right? 3/4 7/8 opening, each one of the 4. So we lost that. And of course, we were busier Thursday than obviously Wednesday. We had no patrons, but Friday was the busiest day we've had so far this season. We used 16,000 gallons of water. Saturday, we weren't open at all, 4,000 gallons. That's all we used for the day was 4,000 gallons. Of course, no play structures were running. Friday, we had everything running all day and we used 16,000. Saturday, nothing ran all day, nothing, we weren't open, 4,000 gallons of water. But it also rained, so there's another factor in, how much did we actually lose that day? And then yesterday, another relatively busy day, but we did open 2 hours later. We opened at 1 on Sundays. And we went through 18,000 gallons. But it was warmer than Friday when we had a good crowd. So there's always factors in, what we're actually using. Yes, the meter says one thing, but it's not necessarily, is it 90? It's going to be 90 tomorrow. What's going to happen tomorrow? So as we continue to work through the process, we've been doing this the whole time. We decided to pull the mats off of the main drains this morning and basically see if there's anything within that recirculation line that's causing us issues. Because we are pretty sure that we don't have any issues within the recirculation system at this point. The other part of the 40 gallons a minute that we lost, we were focusing on what size pipes we had under the surface. not the 12-inch pipe. A 12-inch pipe loses 40 gallons a minute. Capacity of a 1.5, 2-inch pipe, 40 gallons a minute. Well, 12 inches, a couple thousand gallons a minute. So that's how we kind of are we're working to try to pinpoint some of this stuff. And then some of the other stuff is that, we contacted 2 leak detection companies that are specialized in tool leak detection. One hasn't contacted us back. The other one said they can't get here till July. And just the service call is $3,500. That doesn't include doing any work. That's just to get them here from Minneapolis. That's just to get them here and for them to go back without doing any work. So that's something that needs to be done. We still need to pinpoint the leaks. We know they're underneath the concrete. We don't know exactly where they are. Still gonna have to be leak detected or, camera put on to verify where it is and then get an estimate for repairs. So right now we're just working through basically like one more step here to determine if there's something within the recirculation system. And if there's not, we should be able to run the rest of the summer because we have most of the valves isolated. So today that was from about 7:30 this morning till she left at 2:45, 1,900 gallons. All we had today was swim lessons. We didn't open for the day because it started raining right at 11 o'clock. And we had a bunch of lifeguards in the pool because unfortunately we had an incident during swim lessons that shortened swim lessons on the first day. So we've been working on this pretty much every day, just running scenarios through. I mean, we know the plumbing, we looked at all the piping plans, just trying to figure out because we knew we couldn't get somebody here like now. And who knows the pool better? I mean, I've been running it for 23 years, so it was just like, we haven't even talked to the pool company since, the initial thing. So they gave us some ideas and helped us through, get started on it. And then, so the next test tomorrow is we're gonna completely open our main drain valve. So it goes back to full flow. Right now, we're running most of the water through the gutters, which is actually what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to run 80% through the gutters. So you have to do a minimum of 20% through your main drain, which is a state requirement. So, but we reduce the flow as we're doing this testing, and we want to open it back up and see if anything changes with that. So we went through, like you said, 1,900 gallons today in about 7 hours. So by 7:30 tomorrow morning, be in the 4,000 to 6,000 range probably. So
What's less than you thought it was initially, or what less than it was initially, right?
yeah, like I said, we've been doing things literally, but changing those valves last Thursday is really what was the big turning point. I mean, we would go from 18,000 gallons one day to we were at 12,900 one day, and we're running pumps longer. Of course, there could be some side effects to doing that because you're taking a pump that's a 12-inch and you're now reducing it to flowing out less orifices, less items than it was before. So we really want to obviously, find the leak and get it repaired, but it's not something that's going to take place during the season. So we're fortunate that every single feature on that play structure is fed by a separate valve. Most of them are underneath, just a large manifold or a pipe comes into it, and then pipes coming off of that with valves going to each feature. But 3 of them come out, they go into the concrete floor and they go out to the perimeter poles. And that's where we believe, due to the structure actually being removed all winter, that we had some water getting in the pipes and ended up breaking them underground. And they transition from PVC to stainless steel underground. It could be a flange blown apart, it could be a gasket that blew out. I mean, we don't know. So, I know you really wanted to talk about a leak cost estimate, but we have, we're happy to report that we've got it down to, not losing 24,000 or 28,000 gallons a day. And we were losing that without even running the features. Now we're running everything. So, and that's the thing, tomorrow will be huge. Tomorrow we could lose 40,000 gallons. but it's gonna be 95 degrees out. You know,
But when you say that, you're including evaporation, you're including.
right, we're including everything because we're just going off a water meter, so,
You'd already provided the incremental amount of this leak estimate.
yeah,
So worst case, we thought it was 24,000 gallons a day.
Yep.
And the water cost wasn't nearly what we were afraid it was gonna be, I guess. Not saying that it shouldn't be, we should be mindful of it, but the question was the incremental cost, not,
Right.
other water costs.
right,
So,
right. I mean, and the one other thing that we didn't look too in-depth at is like our previous water usage. Like the full 3-month bill. I mean, we looked at it, one we looked at was like 700,000 gallons, but our billing period is like, is it April to June? So you never get like that full,
Mid-April to mid-June.
yeah, so that, I mean, it's not like the full summer, you have to break it down into the full summer. And that information should be available via Aquahawk, where you can get the daily usage, et cetera, but it's the only one that doesn't read in the village right now, so.
And we're working with Aquahawk on February.
For some reason, it's not functioning, we're not quite sure why, so. But
Any questions for Sean?
I do have a couple other small things on the aquatic center, which would be a Saturday, we ran into a little situation where our controller shut down and blew a fuse, so we weren't pumping any muriatic acid to lower the pH. Unfortunately, it was just the fuse, replaced it, and we were back up and running in a couple hours. Health inspection is gonna take place on the 29th of June. So we're hoping that everything's gonna run the way it is right now. I mean, we're working through day-to-day details with staff, obviously, and just we're a little over a week into the season, so I mean, software system is working decent, little hiccups here and there, and just learning things, it's all new, so you're gonna run into that. We hope they're all prepared for tomorrow, 'cause it's gonna be in for a shocker. So, we got some extra cleaning done there today, which was fortunate. We had some lifeguards there. We had staff up there this morning and this afternoon. Just to make sure that everything's ready to roll tomorrow, and we got a lot of pollen and stuff off of everything outside, because everything's yellow or green right now, so, but. Sorry, I don't really have a parks update, working on the pool stuff, but happy to report that maybe that'll settle down a little bit.
Okay, and then Sean, I had sent you that email regarding the sign at the disc golf.
Yep.
And that they found it very difficult to find it. The sign, they said they were looking for it and didn't see it.
That's something we need to discuss anyways. I think signage in parks in general.
Right.
Something that, the whole, even with the wayfinding project and new village signs and stuff. I mean, parks is probably the next thing, because that's a lot of visitors look at park signs, and, we upgraded our wayfinding signs to get to the park, but then you get to the park and the signs not very pretty.
Was wayfinding, was that disc golf part of the wayfinding, or was it?
No,
Okay.
it's the original sign that sign shop made up here, staff made up here and placed it there when it was put in.
So the disc golf is on the wayfinding signs, but it's not then near the entrance, so if you're on Camp Phillips, it'll say disc golf, go straight.
Okay,
But then the sign at the disc golf course saying turn left here is the ones that,
Yeah, it's just a brown little, it's the size of a street sign, it's on a pole, like size of a mile per hour or speed limit sign. So it is hard to see, I mean, and it's brown, so.
but yeah, that was a concern, and I sent that to you. What we can do. And I actually went past it and said I could tell what he was talking about. All right, anybody else have anything? Concerns? All right. Do we make a motion here to just acknowledge your report or not?
I don't think so.
Okay.
because it's an update, not so much an actual report.
Okay,
All right. Policy discussion and recommendation, item 15. Well, 7 and 8 construction service contract. Michael,
Attached is the construction services proposal from AECom for the construction of wells 7, 8, and the associated pump house. So just gave kind of a little background on the project. Their proposal covers 52 weeks of contract administration with then 40 weeks of active construction. They gave us the proposal before we had the pre-construction meeting with Ellis for the wells. During that, Ellis indicated a shorter construction time period than what AECom initially estimated, so I guess I would assume that it should be a little less, but I guess that there is then, some room built in case, something happens on the project that does go over. But Ellis did indicate that starting the wells just after the 4th of July, and starting the pump house construction in mid to late September, with then everything up and running by about May 2020, let's just say 2023, not 2022. Change that. So it should be, just under 11 months total, but then there is about a 2-month downtime while the wells are just being pumped, and then we're getting water samples back to ensure we don't have PFAS or other treatment needs, so. Questions, I guess staff recommendation is to approve the contract on a time and materials not to exceed basis.
we got project administration 611 hours. Shop drawing review 532 hours. How much shop drawing is gonna generate that project? That's a lot.
Yeah, so they're assuming that, where was it here? There'd be up to 20 RFIs, 90 shop drawings. So if there aren't that many submittals, it should be less.
But the way he wrote it, somebody gotta keep track of it. If it's last, then we pay last.
Yep, correct.
The other question I have, are this all the work gonna be done by engineers?
Engineers and technicians.
I don't see a technician rate in there. That project administration, $160 an hour. Shop drawing, $214 an hour. Inspection, $163 an hour. So these are not technician rates.
Yeah, it's a blended rate. I can get that breakdown. If you want it
I
specific.
think it should be nice to know who they're assigning to this project and who's gonna do it.
Yep.
Because these are pretty high rates, in my opinion.
And some of it is multiple people, so I can ask for a clarification. on that.
Well, these are all one rate. I got 611 hours. And I just divided by that $97,877, and that give me $160 an hour.
Sure, okay.
So the rest of them, we need to clear these and understand exactly what we're paying and how we're paying these. Please. Gentlemen, have any questions?
so are you suggesting that before we approve the contract, that you get more breakdown, or what is your?
However fastest Michael can make it happen, I would like to see that.
Yeah, so you can move to recommend it contingent on breakdown of the hours, I guess.
We have to see that,
Yep, I can get that for the board meeting.
yes. You know that.
So essentially, we would approve this, the board would make the final decision based on what those broken down numbers are.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of recommend it with additional breakdown of wages. Guess I don't know how else to.
Additional breakdown all the 3 categories they got in here.
Contingent.
Who's assigned to the project?
Yep.
Because again, it's a pretty high rate to me.
So the
contract is, seeing that term temperature is not to exceed.
Correct.
The estimated amount is, as Michael mentioned here, 9.1% construction cost.
Yeah,
So,
still, I understand that philosophy, 9% of that. I agree with you, but still, these are pretty high numbers. Because, 532 hours of shop drawing review, and some of those shop drawing come true is pretty simple.
Yeah,
It doesn't take much of the time.
and that was a comment too. I mean, a couple of shop drawings have gone through already, and Angel with AECom has commented on how Alice has done a good job of reviewing it prior to submitting it. So again, there's when they're putting the proposal together, they kind of go worst case scenario. So if the contractor's doing their job, it makes the review a lot quicker and easier too.
That's the procedure.
Yep,
That's the way it should be.
yep, correct.
So, and these are not the deep well, really.
Yeah,
90 feet or 100 feet well, it doesn't take that much in there, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
well, I guess the only other comment I'd add is that a dilemma with these well house projects is that you have just about every trade involved. So there's a lot of pieces, even though it's a small project.
correct, correct.
I guess would you
Yes.
be okay with me making the motion as it states, and then you guys can make the decision at the board level based off of the information that's presented at that time? Cause I don't think that we need to adjust the motion at all, would we?
No,
Okay, I'll move to recommend the village board approve the engineering services agreement with AECom for construction-related services for the construction of wells 7 and 8 and the pump house for a price not to exceed $291,625.
subject to providing the information that we asked. You should add that one to your.
Subject to providing the information,
the hourly breakdown.
the hourly breakdown.
Is there a second? Did you second?
Second.
Question? Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. Discussion regarding potential water rate increase.
Yeah, so Jessica Troutman was working on seeing what we would be eligible for through a simplified rate case with the PSC. So she went through the process on the PSC website and kind of kicked out a result saying that the village is, I guess, eligible for a 4.5% increase. If you looked at a average water bill of 12,000 gallons, it'd take somebody's bill from a current cost of $55 a quarter to $57.48. So just under $2.50 a quarter. When we last did our full rate case, when we had the meter change out program, we discussed having more frequent small incremental rate increases versus fewer large increases. So I guess following that philosophy, if we want to move forward with a rate increase, this one is kind of on the, I guess, smaller end. Had a comparison of where we're at, kind of with our local neighbors. So right now we're at 55 on that 12,000 gallon bill. If we had an increase, we're still third lowest, we're still less than, the Corona Water Plover at just over $59. We have Point and Remountain just below us, so it wouldn't necessarily change our position. Every municipality, community, water utility has different reasons for why their rates are their rates based on, what kind of treatment or things they have. But comparably, it wouldn't change our status in our rankings. And also, total, that would be about an additional increase of 118,000 for revenues. We have a proposed or projected revenue loss of a little over $100,000 for the 2022 budget. So kind of matches that as well.
So the reason you increase, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
yeah, you increasing this because you had a loss of $100,000.
Yeah, just kind of looking at it, you have to wait a full year since your last rate increase is implemented. It has to be in place for a full year, so we did the step 2 rate increase, I want to say at the beginning of 2020. So, was it 2021? I forget now.
So it's annually you can, or every 12 months,
Yeah,
you can increase?
We lose our eligibility for a simplified rate case though, after so many years, what is it,
it's 5 years,
5 years after the last increase?
5 years after the last full rate case.
Full rate case, so. Yeah, so we would lose our eligibility for simplified rate case.
Aren't you gonna run a deficit even with this increase? Because if you do any treatment for PFAS, you were already exceeding $100,000 for treatment, just on the numbers we threw around real fast. And then that doesn't incorporate the fact that you're also doing major projects, right?
Yeah, I
So
mean,
for those, we would be filing for a full rate case. So we're trying to avoid the whole rate shock thing again by delaying on a smaller simplified rate case.
No, I just, I mean, I think you're, I just looked at this and I said, honestly, not enough. I mean, I hear what you're saying, you don't want it, but I just said, you're gonna be in deficit, you're not gonna get out of deficit, in my opinion.
no,
Well, a full rate case is gonna take probably 18 months by the time we file, so I think we need to do this. Need to file for this and then,
I'm not saying I'm against increasing it 4.5%, I just felt like.
yeah,
yeah.
not just,
We know what's coming and we're kidding ourselves if we think we're gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a long-term solution of gonna, solve the issue, but it is a way to, the PSC lets you raise your rate 4.5% without going through, like he said, an 18-month process of reanalyzing all your costs and revenues to come up with it, so. And again, our expenses for any PFAS treatment likely is going to take us a year plus before we have design and construction of any treatment facilities too, so.
Do we have any idea for cost of that? Million, 2 million, 3 million?
It depends to the extent, so, like, a activated carbon at, the treatment plant, if we do it just for well 4, where we don't have to worry about, iron and manganese removal, that's maybe about $1 million.
I thought you can't do that without removing iron and manganese.
Well 4 doesn't have iron and manganese.
Right.
So we could do it for well 4 fairly, inexpensively compared to like a well 3 where you'd have to do iron and manganese first and then the activated carbon. So, there's probably ways, depending on how well 7 and 8 perform coming up here that we strategically look at how can we either get these wells back online or, get the wells treated, in the most economical sense. So it's not a rate shock of, doing, 3 big projects at once. Maybe it's 1 project and then, we get it back up and running over a course of several years.
So how much was the rate increase last time?
17.
Pretty
it
big.
was 18%.
Yeah,
18%?
Yeah.
Price already.
And that was when, last year or year before?
It goes back to
It's pretty fresh in my mind.
that was like 2018.
2018, I think, when we
Really?
got, yeah.
Time flies when you're.
Yeah. Yeah, because then the step 2 of that increase was effective in 2020.
There we go.
So the first step would have been, like 2018. And then after we finished the meter installs, then we were able to do step 2, which we implemented in 2020.
Question?
I guess I'll just go back to my earlier thing.
Yeah.
You know this better, but treatment costs don't go away.
No, they don't.
But if you could find a well that doesn't need to be treated.
Yeah, then it's a matter too of,
Well, but that's why as I was looking at all this, I just kept thinking to myself, these costs are every day. They don't, I mean, you can't get out for lunch room and they are only gonna go higher, right? Versus if you could find additional source of water, but I understand, given the challenges, I see the difficulty.
Yeah, well, you go out any direction from the Was, like the Wisconsin River Valley, the Eau Claire River Valley, and you get in the bedrock very quickly. Pretty shallow.
Here's my problem. We're gonna give a health advisory and we're gonna jack up our price.
Yeah.
It's public, they're not gonna be happy about it. We can tell them, but we need this money to do the treatment plan, but, at the same time, it's difficult. Especially with inflation and everything else on top of it.
Yes,
I guess, yeah, I would be looking for any,
motion.
direction from Public Works Committee for the board to have us implement this, or?
I'll move to recommend that, the board complete or initiate a simplified rate increase application with Public Service Commission.
Is there a second?
A second.
Discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. Item 17, intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Rothschild for Weston Avenue reconstruction, Alderson to Birch Street.
I guess this is a agreement with Rothschild for the final design and construction phase of this project. And that is a wrong year again, it should be 2021. So in 2021, we had an agreement for the preliminary design. Then we had submitted a joint grant application for the local road improvement program. This past spring, we got word that we're receiving $733,463 for the project. So we'll be splitting that 50-50 with Rothschild. Then the updated agreement is for moving forward the project to final design and construction, where we'd be splitting roadway costs 50-50. Utility design, construction is 100% ours, since it is our water and sewer mains that would be getting installed. And then there's also a plan to install a mini roundabout at the Weston Ave and Alderson Street intersection, which is 75% in Rothschild and 25% in Weston. So that cost would be split as such. And then any right-of-way acquisition costs would be the responsibility of each municipality. I guess we're still working through some of the final design contract with MSA, so I don't have that cost filled in yet. But I guess other than that, schedule wise, we'd be looking at final design completed towards the end of this year. So then we'd be able to go through right-of-way acquisitions in 2023, have the project bid by 2024 and complete it by the end of 2025. So, not sure if you have any other questions on the agreement or cost distribution.
The cost distribution has to be fair, and we should pay what is our share is.
Yeah.
But how did we figure out 25% of that intersection is in the west?
Just look at the quadrants, the full west side of the road is in Rothschild.
And how far? To the intersection, or we go?
Yeah, the intersection's the boundary. So the right-of-way line, the center line of the road of Alderson, the west side is Rothschild, and the east side is Weston, but then at Weston Avenue, the north side is also in Rothschild. So we're the southeast quadrant of that intersection, and Rothschild is the other three, so. And then, yeah, design costs would be split, and overall project costs would be split based on the, amount of work in each community essentially.
Or it should be the same.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, so except, like utilities are ours, Rothschild doesn't have water, sewer main, we do.
But the road's gonna be.
Yep, the roadway split 50-50.
50.
Yep. Yeah, the main line road is 50-50.
Okay. And where do we put the sewer and water? On our side, or are we gonna just, because they gotta be 8 feet apart, and so how are you gonna do that?
Yeah, I guess we haven't gone through design yet, so, we can put our water main in, Rothschild's right away. I mean, we have all kinds of water and sewer main in their streets already, so.
It's in that area we're serving them.
Oh, we do serve them?
We serve that area. Yep, that area is utility customers of ours, but they live in the village of Rothschild.
Okay. We'd like to see that agreement. It's gonna be written agreement, right, on all this?
Yep, so that's what this says, is, the streets, the storm sewer, the drainage, head bike accommodations would be split 50% Rothschild, 50% to Weston. The intersection at Weston Ave and Alderston is 75% Rothschild, 25% Weston. Water and sanitary sewer utility costs are 100% Weston. Right away is the responsibility of each municipality. So
Is this final?
this is the draft. I don't, Rothschild needs to approve it too, so.
Right, we'd like to see the final.
Yep.
There.
Well, I guess I would think you would want to say yea or nay on whether these are the acceptable ways to split this.
Yeah, we're just gonna
Well,
say how.
Yeah, and then I'll take the draft stamp off and we can.
Yeah, we're gonna have to kind of agree to the draft so they can take it to Rothschild.
Right. But still, I like to see the final, because
Well, yeah.
they're gonna debate on it and to make sure.
Yeah, so I guess that'd be it, is we say, yes, this is the version, Weston endorses. We give it to Rothschild, if they have any changes they wanna make, we bring it back and say, here's the tweaks that Rothschild wants to make to it until we get a final, but.
Right.
Yeah. But if you don't have any recommended changes, we'll get the draft stamp off and send it over to them.
This would be the terms that will be presented to the village of Rothschild on the agreement. So I guess we'd ask for the committee's recommendation that this be the form of the agreement.
Well, I'll make a recommendation to use this form for the intergovernmental agreement between Rothschild and the village of Weston.
I second.
Did you second?
Yes.
Any discussion? This is gonna go to board yet, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're recommending it go to the board.
Right. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. Item 18, Weston Avenue, County Trunk X to County Trunk J, design update.
So I just put a little status update in the packet, just a couple people had questions about where we're at in the project cycle. So we're nearing 60% plans on the east side, and the west side is about 3 months behind that. So we would be looking at 60% plans this fall. On the west side, I guess there's one hang up in getting the infiltration test done this spring, just due to the frost not letting out as soon as expected. And then, it's just some wet conditions and getting DNR concurrence on the infiltration test. So now those are done, they can finalize the stormwater plan and get the ditch sections and other, TSS or suspended solids and DNR permits together. So we'll be moving forward with that and getting the right-of-way plat established for the east side so we can begin any acquisitions that we need there. Then we're looking at a public information meeting, probably in mid to late July for the east side. And should be getting that then wrapped up and bid out over winter, and hopefully get 2023 construction. The east phase, west phase would then be a 2024 construction.
Okay. Any question? All right, there is no action needed on this item. Item 19, Community Center Drive repaving project bid results.
Yeah, so both 19 and 20 kind of follow the same story. We had a project broken up between a concrete phase and a asphalt phase, where the concrete included curb and gutter repairs, concrete pavement, and then the asphalt was repaving of the road. I guess both projects ended up coming in over budget. I guess primarily it seemed like due to increased costs of asphalt, and then also some increased scope after snow melt this year, and there's a little more plow damage to the curb and gutter, so quantities increased from what the estimate was last year when we looked at it. And I guess in talking with American Asphalt, they looked at one of our solutions, if we wanted to get this back closer to budget numbers, would be to only mill off about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of the top mat and repave versus a full depth mill and repave. I guess still looking at the adequacy of the pavement. I didn't get a good chance today to go look at that, but if there's kind of minimal deep cracks, I think that would be an okay solution. But if there is a lot of, how do I put it, kind of more deeper potholes impact, I think if we only mill off the top 2 inches, would be back in the same spot, maybe not 5 years from now, probably 10 years from now, with a road that's in similar condition again. So I guess I don't have a great answer at the moment, if that's an adequate solution, but it is a possible option to look at. So I'll try to get more for the board meeting. Make sure we get out there, see if we can't get a core of it, but if it is just kind of surface raveling, surface defects, the mill and repave of the just top mat would be fine. And it might be okay for one of the streets, whether it's Community Center Drive or Stone Ridge, but maybe not adequate for the other. Community Center seems to have some issues primarily on the south end. So that may be another option too, where it's 2/3 of the project is only a 2-inch overlay, but 1/3 of the project we want to go full depth. So.
And then what's the savings?
So if we do the 2 inches just on Community Center Drive, we'd save about 165,000 and be right, actually under what the estimated cost is there. And for Stone Ridge, it is, a savings about 124,000. So between the two.
Is that 3-inch blacktop?
It's 4 inches.
4 inches? So the crack gonna come exactly where it is today?
Yeah, so that's I guess the point of it is what's the severity of it? Are there a lot of cracks close together, or are they more wide spaced? I mean, if it is potholed, if it is deteriorate to the point where the binder is inadequate, then yes, we should remove all of it, because like I said, we'd be back in the same spot, probably 10 years from now, and it'd be, I guess maybe not the wisest use of money, but at the same time, maybe we elect to do one of these projects, as fully scoped, and then we defer the next one till next year too. I guess those are options we can look at. Or if the board authorizes, we do both of them as fully scoped, and we go that route too.
So there's a double almost what the original estimate was.
Yeah, when we start looking at especially if you drive like in front of like Cheryl Tire and some of that, initially it looked like there's spot repairs that you could do, but this this past winter, some of those areas that went from a bad joint and then it was okay for a while became, 50-foot sections that should just be replaced instead of trying to patch a couple of joints along that way. So the concrete curb and gutter on Stone Ridge really, nearly doubled in the scope for the concrete work.
I didn't see here how we're gonna finance that if we go with the project.
So both projects,
Or what?
both projects were, financed or budgeted out of the TIF one. So I guess that would be a board authorization to allow us to utilize additional TIF funding, or we just defer a project for a year.
What's your wishes?
Well, yeah, I guess my biggest concern is if you only do it half depth in that one area and it starts breaking up again, we wasted an awful lot of money.
Yep.
And you're gonna have expense on maintenance for 5 more years or 10 years at a cost before you even have to do anything, if you have to redo it.
Yeah.
It's not if,
Well,
it
Yeah.
will be.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not any road expert,
Right.
but if you got a problem and you wanna fix it and you recommend doing 4 inches and now you're gonna do 2, it tells me, well, you're trying to be cheapo and you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, so I guess I threw out those options. If the ultimate goal is to stay on budget, there's an option. If the ultimate goal is to fix it the right way, there's another option.
My recommendation is fix it the right way. If you gotta do it 1 year for over a 2-year project
Yeah.
instead of a 1, it's money better spent than doing it.
Yeah, so I guess I didn't have necessarily a recommendation yet, but just wanted to kind of let you know where we're at. We did receive bid results, so.
And you had only one bid, right?
American Asphalt was the only asphalt bidder. On Community Center Drive, we had 2 for the concrete work. And for Stone Ridge, we only had 1.
Okay.
Yeah, Norcon and Pember were the 2 for Community Center Drive.
Additional information on whether or not we can
Yes.
just defer action.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think I gave you guys enough to actually make an educated decision.
That was
Did you
my
say
thought, we
you're gonna
defer
forward?
until we get additional information.
Yeah, we're looking at maybe taking a core and just seeing what we got.
Why don't we do that and then bring it back again?
Okay.
You have time?
I guess we try to get to the board for Monday, probably tomorrow or Wednesday, get a core, be able to look at it and then.
I just can't see doing something,
Yeah, otherwise, yeah,
spending that kind of money and then not doing what you wanna
And
do.
the higher costs aren't gonna go away.
no, I mean, right, just keep
I
it going.
don't think that's coming back down.
Yeah,
Not that I want you to spend money,
No,
but I don't want money thrown away either.
So it's,
All right, then we're gonna, wait until you come back to us or bring the information to the board
yes,
for final decision.
correct.
So we refer that to the board to make a decision on the project.
Yes, they want.
So Donna, is that okay to do it that way?
it's fine as long as the.
Policy-wise?
With that, you could say it sounds to me like you're recommending the best long-term decision on the project.
That would be my,
Yeah. So if that's a motion you wanna make is, we recommend you look at.
Well, I'm sure if you go only 2 inches, is 4-inch blacktop, we're gonna have those correct coming through, it's not gonna be 5 years.
Yeah.
It's gonna be shorter than that period, so.
Yeah. I'm saying probably by like 10 years, probably be closer to, back to its current state.
Actually, there is a study on that someplace, I'm not sure, but I have seen it for correct reflecting up later on,
Yeah.
if you don't fix it.
so do you need a recommendation to the board that maybe we recommend, status quo on what you proposed?
That's fine, or,
With a possible 2-year instead of a 1 year?
sure. Yeah, I guess whatever.
We just refer it back to the with the information they bring to the board.
Well, they'll bring it to the board and they
Right.
can they'll make the final decision no matter what.
Right.
They're just looking for a recommendation from this committee, so,
Correct. Is that your motion?
yes, that's my recommendation. That we stay
Teresa, do you have
with
this one down?
Yep.
Did you write it down?
Yep,
Could you read it, please?
Barb is recommending that we go to a 2-year full fixed project where you do one project 1 year, one project next year, and do it full bore, the full 4 inches.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have it. Thank you. Item 20, the Stone Ridge Drive repaving
Yeah.
project.
I lumped 19 and 20 together, so.
Okay.
go to-
Future item, next meeting date, Monday, July 11, 2022 at 4:15. Be Monday, August 8, 2022 at 4:15. Item 22, topic for future meeting. We have a couple items, you're gonna bring it back. Remark from administrator, Mr. Donner,
Nothing unless you have any questions for me.
any questions? All right, remark from a staff.
Talk to no.
As an additional.
Just a quick
Go ahead.
follow-up, Graphic House out of Wausau was awarded the entryway sign contract. We signed off on it where they're gonna start manufacturing the signs, so it'll probably be about another month plus before you'll start seeing them, so I'll have an update for you next too.
All right, did we see a sample of it, the design of it?
I can forward you the sheets on the approvals if you'd like.
I think it would be nice, I'm sure everybody's interested in seeing that.
Sure.
Please. All right, thank you. Remark from committee member?
Well, I guess on the park committee end of it, we're still in there, I guess.
Yes, yes.
I would,
You got this?
I gotta figure out which hat I have on here. I guess, Sean, I would like to know what your ideas are on the signs or what we're going to do with that. So we can kind of talk about a little bit and get some ideas,
Okay.
cost wise and whatnot all, I mean. The other recommendation is that they thought that we really, on that disc golf, we should have Village of Weston somewhere on there. So it's identified. So,
All right, item 26, announcement. I do not have anything.
Just a quick point of order for
Go ahead.
adjournment. We should adjourn one committee first and then the other.
Yeah.
That's all.
I haven't got there yet.
I know.
All right. Bart, would you like to adjourn your meeting?
like to adjourn the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Motion and second. We are adjourned at 6:08.
Is there a motion to adjourn, public work?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, I have it, thank you.
I could even